So that leads us into the waiver wire. It is going to be a lot of fist fights in fantasy leagues over what people are trying to claim on the waiver wire this week. So go through some of the big names that are going to be out there. Jerick McKinnon probably going to be top of the list. I mean, between Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, we know that they're going to be out for an extended period of time. Raheem Mostert left Sunday's game with an injury. Tevin Coleman also left the 49ers game with an injury. That's just a slew of guys. I would think, Kimmi, Jerick McKinnon is going to be a very popular name this week.
I was just going to say, he's actually going to be my top priority. Now, though we don't know how serious the Tevin Coleman injury is, we do know that all running backs in that 49er system have potential value, right? McKinnon stole the show against the Jets despite getting 11 fewer carries than Tevin Coleman. He ran for 77 yards and a score and added another 28 yards on top of 2 receptions. Now, obviously, the workload is going to favor Tevin Coleman when it comes to pickups, but his 14-carry, 12-yard outing leaves a lot to be desired. I think that, Jerick McKinnon is going to be the number one target. I can't believe that we had so many injuries to a running back position that was already such a fist fight in drafts, right? A lot of guys, this is why we say take your running backs early, take them often. But then once you have those star players kind of fall off and fall out due to injury, that's when you really have to get sneaky on the waiver wire. So there's a lot of different guys that you can target. If you do have, a wire claim first in your league, I think Jerick McKinnon is the guy that you should look.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and I think he's going to be maybe the most popular name on waiver wires this week. A couple of other running back names to keep in mind, the guys that are ostensibly going to take over for Saquon Barkley in New York, Wayne Gallman and Dion Lewis. Gallman was a healthy scratch on Sunday, but you'd imagine he is going to be back on the active roster come this week when they play the 49ers there at the Meadowlands. I don't necessarily love either of them. I think they're going to be stuck in an unappealing committee, but they are the two guys that are going to step up and probably take the workload now that Saquon's there. Also, reports that the Giants have brought in Devante Freeman for a workout. Freeman's still a free agent, so he very well could end up in a Giants uniform, which also throws another wrench into that situation there in New York. A couple of quarterbacks on the list. Gardner Minshew, we talked about him earlier in Minshew Mania and what he is doing down there in Jacksonville. Justin Herbert, Kimmi, was a surprise starter for the Chargers on Sunday. Tyrod Taylor having some chest issues. He was sent to the hospital, and right now he is week to week. But Justin Herbert actually looked pretty good in week 2. And I don't know, maybe there's a quarterback controversy coming for the Chargers now.
I know. I think there is. Now, first of all, Justin Herbert, you did not need to give me such a heart attack and such a scare. The Chargers versus the Chiefs, that's always been a really tough matchup and a really tough contest. But I'm like, there is no way that this rookie could come in and beat my MVP, Patrick Mahomes, and then we delivered. Harrison Butker, I love you. That was an incredible field goal that you kicked. But Justin Herbert, I think we can't look past what he did. Now, there were no reports that he was going to be a starting quarterback ahead of that Chiefs game. Tyrod Taylor, during pregames, that's where he had some chest pain and he was out. And then he stepped up. He delivered 311 passing yards, a touchdown, 1 interception, but also a rushing touchdown as well. I think that there's going to naturally be a new conversation that if Tyrod Taylor is healthy, what does that mean for Justin Herbert? I think he showed himself, he showed his dominance, and he showed that he could lead a team against one of arguably the best teams in the NFL, not only on the offensive side of the ball, but also on the defensive side of the ball. So kudos to you. That was an incredible Sunday performance.
Absolutely. And if what we saw from Herbert is any indication, if he ends up as the starter, that's good news for guys like Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler, pretty much everybody in that passing game. I love Tyrod. I am a fan of Tyrod, but it's hard to debate that Justin Herbert was a lot better than Tyrod Taylor in week 2, versus Tyrod in week 1. I think it's going to be a real point of discussion around the Chargers for the next week or so. We'll see what Tyrod's health is, but Justin Herbert certainly made a claim to get that starting job on Sunday, and it will be interesting to watch. Mentioned Courtland Sutton is out, it looks like, for the rest of the year because of an ACL, so some interesting wide receiver names on the waiver wire. Laviska Shenault, we talked about down in Jacksonville. A couple of guys in Indianapolis because Paris Campbell also left that game with an injury on Sunday. Zach Pascal, Michael Pittman. I'm throwing Michael Pittman a little bit in there because, go Trojans. But, Kimmi, there are some wide receivers out there that I think people are going to have to pay attention to this week because that's another spot that looks like people are going to be needing in week 3 and beyond.
Right. So obviously you're going to mention Michael Pittman, fight on, go Trojans. I don't even know like what you guys' things are. I'm a Hawkeye, so it doesn't matter. But anyway, I want to go back to Laviska Shenault, right? We keep talking about, and this is weird. I feel like I'm like on the Jacksonville Jaguars bandwagon, but we need to look at what that offense is doing. I think he had flashes of incredible performances, and if you want to see them spread the ball between DJ Chark, Laviska Shenault, and now James Robinson, plus Gardner Minshew, just scrambling all over the field and throwing dimes, he's a player that people should look to target. He's not owned in a lot of leagues. So if you have waiver wire priority, Laviska Shenault should be a name that you should be targeting.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting about Shenault is that they are using him in Jacksonville sort of the way he was used in college at the University of Colorado. They're using him as a wide receiver. They put him in the backfield and just giving him straight handoffs like you see right there. They have used him as a wildcat quarterback and just direct snap the ball to him. So it looks like Jay Gruden is trying as many things as possible to get the ball in Shenault's hands. He's yet to have like a huge game, but just the way they're using him is very encouraging. And as I mentioned, the schedule looks very nice over the next few weeks for the Jaguars offense as a whole. So this is the time to maybe go and stash these guys, use them as streaming options where you can. And if things pop, then you end up with a pretty good gem sitting there on your roster. A couple of tight end names, too, on the waiver wire. Jonnu Smith, a guy that I've loved certainly all offseason, had 2 touchdowns on Sunday. But Kimmi, Dalton Schultz. We were big on Blake Jarwin. I know that was certainly Adam Rank's favorite tight end target in a lot of leagues. He unfortunately went down at the start of the year with an ACL injury of his own. But then on Sunday, Dalton Schultz stepped in, played well, and I think he's a name you have to pay attention to if you need tight end help.
100% he is. And the reason why we were so high on Blake Jarwin is because he was going to be the tight end one in that offense. We saw flashes of opportunity. Now that he's out, obviously Dalton Schultz is the guy. 9 receptions, 88 yards, and a touchdown, and that nail-biting win over the Atlanta Falcons. This is absolutely a guy on the waiver wire that you should be targeting. The tight end position last year was a dumpster fire. I don't even need to gloss over that. It was a dumpster fire. You either had a tight end one in a George Kittle or a Travis Kelce, or you didn't at all, right? So I think Dalton Schultz is someone who should be targeted. Again, he's getting all the opportunity that Blake Jarwin would have seen. That is why we hype Blake Jarwin so much. And we saw him coming off the boards a lot earlier than some other kind of bigger name guys. So I was impressed with that performance and that touchdown to kind of help clinch that win.
So we talked about, obviously, Christian McCaffrey suffering an ankle injury that could keep him out 4 to 6 weeks. We didn't mention the guys behind him. Is there anybody else in that Panthers backfield, maybe a Mike Davis or somebody like that you'd have any interest in?
I mean, I think Curtis Samuel's stock goes all the way up, but we also need to take note of Mike Davis. Davis is listed as the Panthers' primary backup to Christian McCaffrey, so the veteran back who had some good moments with the Seahawks a few years ago could be in line to get some of those Christian McCaffrey touches. Again, that's a little bit deeper. We don't exactly know what that production is going to look like, but again, Teddy Bridgewater is used to tucking and giving the ball away to Christian McCaffrey. I don't know if that's drastically going to change an offense that was really built around Christian McCaffrey. So Mike Davis could have some flashes of opportunity.
Yeah, I think the hard part about losing guys like Saquon and CMC is that because they did so much and they did it all so well, you're never going to find just one guy to plug into that backfield and fill that spot. You know, we're going to see 2 or 3 guys in New York try to replace Saquon. We're going to see 2 or 3 guys in Carolina try to replace Christian McCaffrey for the time being. So I guess the best strategy is to try and find the guy who's next man up, but understanding that for you fantasy-wise, it is probably going to be a piecemeal effort on the waiver wire, or you try to swing a trade somewhere to do a better job of filling that hole. But it is a big loss. Understand, at least it's early in the fantasy season. So as they say, there's a lot of ball game left. So don't completely freak out, but understand that there is going to be a little bit of work to do.